Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Sthavakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Sthavakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, who established universal religion, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme Incarnate. Let us pray to him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The topic I had chosen, the 5 commandments of Sri Ramakrishna. We have finished 3 and we will have to start the 4th one. The first commandment: repeat God's name and sing His glory. Second, keep holy company and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. Third one, it is most necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God. The 4th one, which I am talking today, is you should always discriminate between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, the eternal substance. All else is unreal, that is impermanent. By discriminating this, one should shake off impermanent objects from the mind. So, the most important commandment, discrimination. We must exercise the power of discrimination in a rational way, in a scientific way. It is very important, particularly in spiritual life. All the sufferings we are getting on account of our identification with the unreal things and impermanent things of the world. So we are involving too much in unreal things and we get polluted. So it takes long time to free from all pollutions. Well, unless we free ourselves from all these impurities, we cannot really experience the bliss of God. So sadhana is meant for purification of the heart. So Sri Ramakrishna says very clearly in the Gospel, you must practice discrimination. Most important fact which should become aware of. That is, in every page Sri Ramakrishna tells about this particular aspect. That is, Kamini, Kanchana, Tyag. Lust and gold is impermanent. God is the only eternal substance. What does a man get with money? Food, clothes, and a dwelling place. Nothing more. You cannot realize God with its help. Therefore, money can never be the goal of life. That is the process of discrimination. Sri Ramakrishna himself leads us how to discriminate. As soon as a man finds his mind wandering away to the unreal, he should apply discrimination. The moment an elephant stretches out its trunk to eat a plantain tree in a neighbor's garden, it gets a blow from the iron goad of the driver. This was the fourth commandment of Sri Ramakrishna. Practice discrimination. Discrimination is the faculty of distinguishing the higher from the lower, right from wrong, the sacred from the profane, and living that life. It is not mere intellectual gymnastics. Right understanding without the effort to lead an appropriate life is not only useless, it is dangerous and results in much suffering. Discrimination should be followed by dispassion. In Sanskrit, for discrimination we call Viveka, for dispassion we call Vairagya. So Viveka should be followed by Vairagya and self-control. Blessed are those who have discrimination. It is a lamp that burns brightly in the hearts of all good and happy people. It lights up the path of life and gently leads one to God. Right discrimination results in peace, joy, and self-knowledge. It is there in the heart of every creature, helping it survive and thrive. But it is only in man that discrimination attains a glory that is unsurpassed. For it leads man to self-knowledge and absolute freedom. Without it, man cannot be happy even in worldly life, not to speak of attaining any spiritual success. All successful people, whether spiritual or secular, possess it in a greater degree. Most people, though, use it for worldly ends. Needless to say, discrimination is indispensable in spiritual life. According to Shankaracharya, Viveka or discrimination is one of the foremost requisites for treading the path of knowledge. It is indispensable whatever be the path we tread. Shankara defines it thus: a firm conviction of the mind to the effect that Brahman is real and the universe unreal. Because it's constantly changing, constantly changing phenomena cannot be considered real. This process of discrimination is useful only for those who are far advanced in spiritual life. Most of us are far from it. We are not aware of what is unreal, even though we are living in its very midst, not to speak of what is real. And so it does not really concern us at this stage. What is useful for us is to find out what makes us sane, rational, strong, pure, cheerful, balanced and truthful. Without discrimination, one can never make progress. One of the reasons why so many aspirants make little or no progress in spite of many years of regular practice is due to the lack of discrimination. 4 things are necessary to be able to discriminate properly. 1 is awareness, 2nd, rationality, 3rd, a well-defined goal, and last, sufficient willpower. The faculty of discrimination will be absent or does not help us if these 4 requirements are not met. The very first requirement is awareness. Most of us wade through life as sleepwalkers, doing things mechanically, blissfully unaware of what is being done. In Sanskrit there is a word called laya. It is one of the obstructions in the path of meditation. Laya means sleep, or mechanical spiritual practice is one of the very first obstacles to yoga. Until one develops the habit of doing everything with awareness, there will be little or no progress. If only we can cultivate the habit of keeping a watch on whatever we do, whether it is talking, whether it is reading or cooking or meditating, a lot of problems, both physical and mental, can be avoided. Certainly it saves time, money and effort. So we should be aware of everything going on in and around us. Even though it was a master's day of silence, a traveler begged for a word of wisdom that would guide him through life's journey. The master nodded affably, took a sheet of paper and wrote a single word on it. Awareness. The visitor was perplexed. So, because it was too brief, so he requested the master, would you please expand on it a bit? The master took the paper back and wrote, awareness, awareness, awareness. He expanded 3 times. But what do these words mean? Said the stranger helplessly. The master reached out for the paper and wrote, awareness, awareness, awareness means awareness. This is recorded in the Anthony de Mello, a saint, in the passage 1 Minute Wisdom. Psychology tells us that by just being aware of our thoughts, emotions, motives and actions, many a problem can be nipped in the bud. Even if the problem persists, it will be easier to deal with and much suffering could be avoided. One of the functions of the teacher is to keep a watch over the aspirant's behavior and warn him of the impending trouble even before it surfaces. Here the teacher is doing what the aspirant should have done himself. One develops awareness through constant practice. There is no shortcut. The second requirement is to use reason and develop rationality. Hunger, sleep, insecurity and sex urge, they are all common to men and animals. But the understanding of dharma is the extra quality of man which makes what a man is. Like that Hitopadesha, a Sanskrit text, tells this way. Without dharma, he is just an animal. The word dharma may be loosely translated as right conduct and behavior, which is the result of right knowledge. And right knowledge can only be got from being rational. To be rational means to be objective, fair and just. It is also the only way of doing anything rightly. Man is a rational animal, is a well-known adage. But experience shows human beings are rarely rational. Saint Francis de Sales, the admirable and practical teacher that he was, puts it so succinctly thus. He says, we are human only because of our reason, and yet it is very rare to find people who are truly reasonable. Self-love frequently falsifies rationality and leads it into 1,000 kinds of injustices, which though often small are nonetheless dangerous. We fault our neighbor for a trifle, but excuse ourselves for a major fault. We desire to sell for a good price, but to buy at a bargain. We demand that justice be meted out in the house of another, but want mercy in our own. We wish people to take our remarks in the right light, but we are sensitive and prickly about what is said to us. If we take an aversion to someone, no matter what he does, we find him at fault and ceaselessly badger and annoy him. We are punctilious about maintaining our rank, but want others to be humble and accommodating. We readily complain about our neighbor, but are annoyed when he complains about us. We are annoyed when he complains about us. What we do for another always seems considerable to us, but what he does for us always seems insignificant. But just in all your actions, always put yourself in your neighbor's place and put your neighbor in yours, and then you will judge fairly. Imagine yourself the seller when buying and the buyer when selling, and then you will sell and buy fairly. We lose nothing by living generously, nobly, courteously, with a royal, just and rational heart. Examine your heart often to be assured that it is behaving toward your neighbor as you would want his to behave toward you. Therein lies true reason. So this is recorded in Introduction to the Divine Life by Saint Francis of de Sales. Most of the ills and suffering in the world can be attributed to irrationality. The root cause of irrationality is narcissism. Would to God more of us were more rational and reasonable. On this admirable quality, Erich Fromm has this to say: the narcissistic orientation is one in which one experiences as real only that which exists within oneself, while the phenomena in the outside world have no reality in themselves, but are experienced only from the viewpoint of their being useful or dangerous to one. The opposite pole to narcissism is objectivity. It is the faculty to see people and things as they are, objectively, and to be able to separate this objective picture from a picture which is formed by one's desires and fears. All forms of psychosis show the inability to be objective to an extreme degree. For the insane person, the only reality that exists is that within him, that of his fears and desires. He sees the world outside as symbol of his inner world, as his creation. All of us do the same when we dream. In the dream we produce events, we stage dramas, which are the expression of our wishes and fears, although sometimes also of our insights and judgment. And while we are asleep, we are convinced that the product of our dreams is as real as the reality which we perceive in our waking state. The insane person or the dreamer fails completely in having an objective view of the world outside. But all of us are more or less insane, or more or less asleep. All of us have an unobjective view of the world, one which is distorted by our narcissistic orientation. This was said by Eric Fromm in the book The Art of Loving. Needless to say, without rationality, we can't overcome our narcissism. We wouldn't even be human. The third requirement is a well-defined goal. While it is true that discrimination becomes effective only after we have a goal, it is also true that discrimination itself will not function without having at least some idea about our goal. An ideal or a goal gives a purpose and meaning to life. It helps us release our energies and potentialities. Without a goal, all our activities become desultory and energies become scattered. A goal also serves as a way of measuring our progress. Without a set goal, any talk of progress is meaningless. Even in this world, a higher type of goal brings a lot of peace and joy. It is common experience that even a little achievement towards a good goal gives us a sense of well-being not to be had by any amount of sense enjoyment. If this be the case, we can imagine the joy and peace an aspirant is likely to experience when he has God realization as his goal. Sincere effort, however small, brings immense satisfaction immediately. Without a definite goal and a strong desire for attaining it, discrimination does not help. Many aspirants, after reading a few books, jump to the conclusion that God realization is the goal and focus all their attention on it. Though this is the ultimate goal, it is well to bear in mind it is a long-term goal to be attained only after many lives of intense effort. What should concern us right now and is helpful us is to have short-term goals that can exist, that can take us to the next higher step. These goals include overcoming defects like hatred, jealousy, waste of time and energy in frivolous talking and useless activities. If you look objectively at our way of life, we will be surprised at the many undesirable traits we cherish. Without getting rid of those, no advancement is possible, however much japa or meditation we may do. One of the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna used to say often that rowing an anchored boat is useless. Swami Brahmananda's advice in this regard is an indispensable must for every spiritual aspirant. He said, every night before you go to sleep, think for a while how much time you have spent in doing good deeds and how much time you have wasted and how much time you have spent in meditation and how much you have wasted in idleness. So, you must think of this before you go to sleep, every day. Make your mind strong through the observance of continence and the practice of meditation. You can't buy God. His vision comes only through His grace. Does this mean that you should not practice spiritual disciplines? Certainly you must practice. Otherwise, passions will create havoc in you. A rich man employs a porter whose duty it is to see that neither thieves nor cows nor sheep nor any other intruder enter the compound. Man's mind is his porter, and the stronger the mind becomes, the better. Swami Brahmanji says in the Eternal Companion. The fourth requirement is a strong will. Oscar Wilde's, he has said, I can resist anything but temptation. Is a truism for most of us. If we give in to temptation, what else is there to resist? Temptations, pitfalls, and suffering in life are unavoidable. They are, in fact, our best friends in spiritual life. But for them, all of us would be saints. What separates a saint from a worldly man is suffering and temptation. If life is all joy and sweetness, you will be forever stuck in this mire of samsara. Miseries and temptations give us an invaluable opportunity of proving our mettle and strengthening our willpower. These are the very steps of the spiritual ladder leading to self-knowledge. No one is born with an irresistible will as a fatuous gift from God. As we go on developing the habit of exercising our will, it grows. In course of time, it becomes strong enough to help us overcome greater pitfalls and move forward towards our goal. Life affords us daily more than enough opportunities of exercising our will. The best way of developing a strong will is to accept the situations of life cheerfully, with equanimity, and to strive to move towards God with patience and perseverance. Regular practice of japa, prayer, meditation, study of scriptures, and the discharging of all our duties as an offering to God. All this will gradually but unfailingly make our will strong. Awareness, rationality, a well-defined goal, and sufficient willpower. When these four requirements are met, the faculty of discrimination blossoms forth and becomes an aspirant's best friend. Soon it leads to right knowledge and is invariably followed by vairagya or dispassion. Dispassion is an instinctive rejection as poison of all that stands as an obstruction in our path. The test of true discrimination is dispassion. A discrimination which is not accompanied by dispassion is worthless. Discrimination is an indispensable practice in spiritual life. The opposite of viveka or discrimination is avidya or ignorance. Patanjali Maharshi defines avidya in his Yoga Sutras. Anitya ashuchi dukkha anatmanam nitya shuti sukhatma khyati ra vidya. Anitya ashuchi dukkhanatmanam nitya shuti sukhatma khyati ra vidya. This is the sutra, aphorism. It means ignorance is taking the non-eternal, the impure, the painful, and the non-self for the eternal, the pure, the happy, and the Atman or self, respectively. All the different sorts of impressions have one source, ignorance. We have first to learn what ignorance is. All of us think, I am the body and not the self, the pure, the effulgent, the ever blissful. And that is ignorance. We think of man and see man as body. This is a great delusion. Now Patanjali explains what ignorance is. If I show you a nice piece of fruit that you have never seen before, you will say, I am completely ignorant of this. I don't know what it is. That is just normal ignorance, not knowing something. What Patanjali speaks of in this sutra is something different. He mentions last the basic ignorance regarding the non-self as the self. What is self and what is non-self? Atma, Anatma. The self is the eternal, never changing one. It is always everywhere as a very basic substance. All things are actually nothing but the self. But in our ignorance we see them as different objects. Thus we take the changing appearances to be the unchanging truth. When something changes, it can't be the self. For example, our own bodies are changing every second, yet we take the body to be ourself. And speaking in terms of it, we say, I am hungry, or I am lame, I am black, I am white. and so on. These are all just the conditions and qualities of the body. We touch the truth when we say, my body aches, implying that the body belongs to us and that therefore we are not that. Unfortunately, we often add, I am very, very sick. Who is actually sick? If the body aches, then the body is sick, not you. Whatever we forget, whenever we forget this truth, we are involved in the non-self, the basic ignorance. We make the same ignorant mistake in regard to the mind, saying, I am happy, or I am ignorant. Feeling happy, fearful, or angry, or knowing a lot of, or knowing nothing, are all modifications or feelings of the mind. Once that is understood, there is nothing that can disturb us in this world. Things will come near us or go away from us, but we will know we are not connected with them. We will know we are not that. Under all conditions, we can sing knowledge, bliss. Knowledge, bliss. Bliss is absolute. In all conditions, I am knowledge. Bliss is absolute. Well, who is practicing yoga then? Who does japa? Who meditates? It is a mind along with the body. You need not do any practice. When you fully realize this, even japa will become an ignorant business. But for now, we can get rid of ignorance with ignorance. Take a better ignorance to get rid of a worse one. In the final analysis, only the light of understanding will remove the darkness of ignorance. There is a story given in the scriptures that illustrates this point. Once a man walked into the backyard of his house during twilight. All of a sudden, in a dark corner, he saw a coiled snake. Frightened, he shouted. He yelled, snake, snake. His voice roused a number of people who came running with sticks. They advanced slowly toward the corner, and one bold fellow with a particularly long pointed stick gave the snake a hard blow. Nothing happened. Suddenly an old man arrived with a lantern. He brought the lantern near the corner where the snake was. The light revealed nothing but a coiled rope. The old man laughed. Look at all of you blind people groping in darkness. There is nothing but a rope there, and you took it for a snake. In order to understand the rope as a rope, a light was necessary. We too need a light, the light of wisdom. That is jnana. With such a light, the world is no longer a world, and all the qualities we call the non-self appear in their true nature. All the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna have emphasized the significance of discrimination. If through discrimination you can impress upon your mind the joy and fullness of the spiritual life and the folly of worldly attachments, it will devote itself more and more to God, and you will find yourself freed from all distracting thoughts. Begin your spiritual life this moment. Direct your mind toward God, either through japam or through meditation or through discrimination. Know that each of these means is equally effective. Take any one of them and drown yourself in the ocean of bliss. Ask no more questions. First do something and then ask questions. Swami Brahmanji said. In the domain of Maya, there is both vidya, that which leads a man to God, and avidya, that which leads a man away from God. Vidya is spiritual discrimination and renunciation. By taking refuge in vidya, you take refuge in God, while avidya, which consists of lust, anger, greed, egotism, attachment, and envy, drags a person down to the level of a brute. If you cultivate discrimination and renunciation, avidya will be destroyed. If you yield to avidya, God remains far away and suffering will be your lot. There are both vidya and avidya. Man has the power to choose the one or the other. And on the nature of his choice will depend his success or failure in life. And he will reap the fruits of his choosing. And merely seeking a great soul won't do. One must meditate and assimilate. One must have discrimination and dispassion. All these are said by Swami Brahmanandaji in the book Eternal Companion and Spiritual Talks. Swami Chidananda has said about discrimination, practice, continual practice and discrimination are what is needed. Whatever you have to do for them, do so with the idea that you are serving Narayan in those forms. Then you won't get attached too much. And along with all this, you must have your power of discrimination wide awake. The discrimination between the real and the unreal gives rise to detachment. The more you grow in discrimination and dispassion, the more power you will manifest. Even if you yourself are not aware of it, others will feel it. Swami Premanand said, you are to discriminate and find a path that is good for you and that will lead you to your goal. Devotion is necessary as well as discrimination and knowledge. It is not a lazy man's job. Be up and doing. Have strong discrimination. Think like this. I will be perfect in this very life. I will be unattached. I will become a Jivan Mukta, freed while living. Why should anything be impossible for me? Retire into solitude occasionally. Practice discrimination and self-analysis and try to discover the subtle obstacles that obstruct your path to spiritual progress. You will find that there are many subtle impressions, habits of thought and action lying dormant and hidden in the subconscious regions of the mind. Analyze yourself in solitude, find out the obstacles and then struggle without compromise to remove them. Through the faithful practice of discrimination and spiritual disciplines, the mind gradually comes under control. Swami Chidananda said, eating, sleeping, fear and sex, these are the common features of both animal and man. The speciality of man is that he has knowledge and can distinguish right from wrong. The lower a man is, the greater is his joy in sense objects. The higher he is, the greater is his pleasure in knowledge. A subtle joy which low natures cannot appreciate. See how they are spending their days in drinking, hunting and running after women, just like beasts. What advantage is gained? Being born a man, if we do not refine and elevate our faculties, those who have a refined mind can never stoop to these things. Anyway, it's good fortune to have this feeling of vairagya. And what is vairagya? But the discrimination between the self and the non-self. Discrimination between Purush and Prakriti is another name for it. Constant discrimination sharpens the intellect. Truth reveals itself to a man who is always discriminating to attain it. One must always keep this word of discrimination ready at hand. Words of supreme knowledge carry no meaning to an ordinary man with a limited vision. Through discrimination, the ordinary sense knowledge vanishes. Take for example this house. It is nothing but a conglomeration of atoms. So is the body. Discrimination pushed further will reduce even the atoms to one entity, the absolute existence. As Sri Ramakrishna would say, the palmyra tree is true and not its branches or fruits, for they drop off. Brahman alone is real. The world is changing. Knowledge dawns when discrimination is perfect. What a great power is embedded in words. Though we may be repeating that all is unreal, that this world is false, yet suppose I tell you a harsh word, it disturbs your mind. When there is so much power in evil words, why should there not be power in the Vedic dicta, I am Brahman, and so on? But as we have no faith in the Vedic dicta or mantras, they do not become effective in our life. Words again are of two kinds, spoken and written. Something is written in a letter. On reading that, you will have a reaction, good or bad, in your mind. And again, how funny, there will not be the same effect upon each and all. Some will be affected, some not. Those who are concerned with the particular thing, they only will be affected. While we discriminate, it seems that there is nothing but a moment after everything comes. If there is no object of sense enjoyment in front of you when you discriminate, you may feel that you have no weakness. But as soon as the object of temptation comes, you are upset. We discriminate, no doubt, but after doing that for some time, we give up the habit. And the result is this. One must be established in discrimination. One must dwell in that. Without that, no result will come. He is indeed wise whose mind does not react, though the objects of enjoyment come before him. This is the test. When your mind has attained to that stage, then only you can be sure that it is all right. It is true that one cannot give up all desires, but if the mind becomes discriminating, desires cannot exert their previous power. You read in the Yoga Vasishta, if one moves about with discrimination as one's friend, one does not fall prey even to great temptations. And that is actually true. If one maintains discrimination steady and strong, no illusion can ever overpower a man. If you constantly remember that the world is unreal, what can desires do? Swami Adbhutanji said about discrimination, whenever your mind runs after sense enjoyments, use your discrimination. Look, the sense objects are impermanent. They come and go. Be satisfied with whatever you need for your daily living and don't desire more. Too many worldly belongings displace the thought of the reality from the mind. The reality is one, and that is Brahman. Brahman alone is real and everything else is unreal. Impress these thoughts again and again upon the mind, and gradually true discrimination will arise. You will have to discriminate between the real and the unreal. To keep one's discrimination alert is a great austerity. He who has learned to discriminate can successfully overcome lust and greed. So cultivate your discrimination and conscience. How can you struggle against evil tendencies if your intellect is not trained to differentiate between good and evil? Swami Abhedanji said, raise a wall all around your mind by your discrimination. Do not allow the distraction of external circumstances to enter your mind. Swami Ramakrishna said, the first personal pronoun is at the root of all our miseries. Hence our primary duty should be to get rid of it somehow or other. This can be done by the service of the great, by good works without caring for results, by concentration or discrimination. Swami Chidananda said, the master used to say that the mind is like a mad horse, which is prone to running hither and thither. And just as a coachman controls the horse with the girdles, so must a man direct the mind with the power of discrimination which is already in him. If men are guided by this discrimination, they never come to grief. It is an undeniable fact proven by experience that the mind will not pursue an object of enjoyment for long if it is enjoyed with the proper discrimination. Sri Ramakrishna repeatedly said that discrimination between the real and the unreal was imperative for a spiritual aspirant. Swami Akhandanji said about discrimination, he says, there is no real happiness in life as misery follows happiness. Life after life, this oscillation between this pair of opposites is continuing. No more of this. Now start on the search for unalloyed happiness. Seek that happiness which is not unadulterated. Seek that happiness which is not adulterated. People are so accustomed to adulterated food that they have forgotten the taste of really good food. Further, they have lost the power to digest it. Nowadays, if someone gets adulterated food at a cheap price, he will not want pure food. Thus, when discrimination is practiced, it dispels ignorance, brings right understanding, sets before us the right goal, strengthens our resolve, helps us discard what is harmful, helps us overcome all obstacles, and gradually leads us to God realization and blessedness. So, we must use discrimination, we must be rational, and we must be aware of things in and around us. And then certainly we will be able to move forward in our spiritual journey. So this is the fourth commandment given by Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel. Viveka and Vairagya both are very important in pursuing the spiritual goal. In the samadhi that comes at the end of reasoning and discrimination, no such thing as I exists, but it is extremely difficult to attain it. I consciousness lingers so persistently. That's why a man is born again and again in this world. The cow suffers so much because she says, Hamba, Hamba, that is, I. She is yoked to the plough all day long, rain or shine, or she is slaughtered by the butcher, but even that doesn't put an end to her misery. The cobbler tans her hide to make shoes from it. At last the carder makes a string for his bow from her entrails and uses the string in carding. Then it says, Tuhu, Tuhu, that is, thou, thou. Only then does the cow's suffering come to an end. Likewise, only when a man says, not I, I am nobody. O Lord, thou art the doer and I am the servant. Thou art the master. He is freed from all sufferings. Only then he is liberated. Doctor said, but one must fall into the hands of the carder or love. Master said, if this ego cannot be got rid of, then let the rascal remain as a servant of God or love. A man may keep this ego even after attaining samadhi. Such a man feels either that he is a servant of God or that he is a lover of God. Shankaracharya retained the ego of knowledge to teach men spiritual life. The servant ego, the knowledge ego, or the devotee ego may be called the ripe ego. It is different from the unripe ego. It makes one feel, I am the doer, I am the son of a wealthy man, I am learned, I am rich. How dare anyone slight me? A man with an unripe ego cherishes such ideas. Suppose a thief has entered such a man's house and stolen some of his belongings. If the thief is caught, all the articles will be snatched away from him. Then he will be beaten. At last he will be handed over to the police. The owner of the stolen goods will say, what? This rogue doesn't know whose house he has entered? After realizing God, a man becomes like a child 5 years old. The ego of such a man may be called the ego of a child, the ripe ego. The child is not under the control of any of the gunas. He is beyond the 3 gunas. He is not under the control of any of the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Just watch a child and you will find that he is not under the influence of tamas. One moment he quarrels with his chum or even fights with him, and the next moment he hugs him, shows him much affection and plays with him again. He is not even under the control of rajas. Now he builds his playhouse and makes all kinds of plans to make it beautiful, and the next moment he leaves everything behind and runs to his mother. Again, you see him wearing a beautiful piece of cloth worth 5 rupees. After a few moments, the cloth lies on the ground. He forgets all about it. Or he may carry it under his arm. If you say to the child, "There's a beautiful piece of cloth. Whose is it?" He answers, "Why, it is mine. My daddy gave it to me." You may say, "My darling, won't you give it to me?" And he will reply, "Oh no, it is mine. My daddy gave it to me. I won't give it to you." Some minutes later, you may coax him with a toy or a music box worth a penny, and he will give you the cloth. Again, a child 5 years old is not attached even to the sattva. You may find him today very fond of his playmates in the neighborhood. He doesn't feel happy for a moment without seeing them. But tomorrow, when he goes to another place with his parents, he finds new playmates. All his love is now directed to his new friends, and he almost forgets about his old ones. Further, a child has no pride of caste or family. If his mother says to him about a certain person, "This man is your elder brother," he believes this to be 100% true. One of the two may have been born in a Brahmin family, and the other may belong to a low caste, say that of the blacksmiths, but they will take their meal from the same plate. A child is beyond all ideas of purity and impurity. He is not bound by social conventions. He doesn't hesitate to come out naked before others. Then there is an ego of old age. Dr. Sarkar laughs. An old man has many shackles: caste, pride, shame, hatred, and fear. Furthermore, he is bound by the ideas of worldly cleverness, calculating intelligence, and deceit. If he is angry with anybody, he cannot shake it off easily. Perhaps he keeps the feeling as long as he lives. Again, there is the ego of scholarship and the ego of wealth. The ego of old age is an unripe ego. To the doctor, he said, "There are few men who cannot attain knowledge of God. Men proud of their scholarship, proud of their education, are proud of their wealth. If you speak to such people about a holy man and ask them to visit him, they make all kinds of excuses and will not go. But in their heart of hearts they think, why, we are big people ourselves, must we go and visit someone else?" A characteristic of tamas is pride. Pride and delusion come from tamas. It is said in the Purana that Ravan had an excess of rajas, Kumbhakarna of tamas, and Vibhishan of sattva. That's why Vibhishan was able to receive the grace of Rama. Another characteristic of tamas is anger. Through anger, one loses one's wits and cannot distinguish between right and wrong. In a fit of anger, Hanuman set fire to Lanka without thinking for a moment that the fire might also burn down the hut where Sita lived. Still another feature of tamas is lust. Girish Chandra Ghosh of Paturiya Ghata once remarked, "Since you cannot get rid of your passions, your lust, your anger, and so on, give them a new direction. Instead of desiring worldly pleasures, desire God. Have intercourse with Brahman. If you cannot get rid of anger, then change its direction. Assume the tamas attitude of bhakti and say, 'What? I have repeated that hallowed name of Durga, and shall I not be liberated? How can I be sinner anymore? How can I be bound anymore?' If you can't get rid of temptation, direct it towards God. Be infatuated with God's beauty. If you can't get rid of pride, then be proud to say that you are the servant of God, you are a child of God. Thus turn the 6 passions toward God." Doctor said, "It is very hard to control the sense organs. They are like restive horses whose eyes must be covered with blinkers. In the case of some horses, it is necessary to prevent them from seeing at all. Master said, a man need not fear anything if but once he receives the grace of God, if but once he obtains the vision of God, if but once he attains self-knowledge. Then 6 passions cannot do him any harm. Let us stop here. Page 862. Any question or comments? So, repeating God's name, keeping holy company, going to solitude, and to discriminate between real and unreal. These are the 4 commandments which Sri Ramakrishna has given in the Gospel. There is one more, the 5th commandment, which I will do in the next class. The 5th one is, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. That is the 5th commandment. By doing duties, you will be purified and you will be able to go forward. Lots of instructions Sri Ramakrishna has given in the Gospel. Any question to ask? Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bought for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is measuredness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, you honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine's no prayer for wealth or retinue. The playthings of lust are the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. How I long for the day when instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns so with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy. May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous reign tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. May the free make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteous rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be free from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being praised, the Holy Universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the Holy Universe feels satisfied.